Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa is yet to appoint the SABC board after recommendations were forwarded to him. The public broadcaster has been without a board for about 5 months now. There have been disagreements about some of the candidates recommended for appointments. Joining us now to unpack this is William Bird, who is with Media Monitoring Africa. William, thank you so much for making time for us. What do you make of former Communications Minister Khumbudzo Ntshavheni's questioning of Patiso Makopeni's inclusion on the list of candidates for the SABC board?
Well, I think it's an egregious effort at interfering with a parliamentary process. I mean, we're used to ministers seeking to interfere with the SABC board. Here we're seeing an then acting minister seeking to interfere in the appointment process of the board. I mean, it's categorically outrageous. It's actually quite amazing that she was, I guess she's no longer Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, but she's still a minister. I think for that effort alone, she should have been removed from her position. You cannot have a minister after, and bear in mind, her letter to Parliament was well after all 12 names had been selected. Had she, for example, like any member of the public wanted to, when the CVs were there, had she then written a letter in public, to the portfolio committee and said, I've got concerns about the following members, etc., and here are the reasons why, then no one, even that would have been dodgy, but at least it would have been out in the open and in public. This is only there because this letter came to rise in court processes that we currently have with the president. So for her to have made that well after the names had been sent forward, I think is just incredible. It's astonishing that she would be so blatant in her effort to interfere in a parliamentary process.
Yeah. Do we know what exactly she is concerned about? We know about the history Makopeni has with the SABC, but what about that is the minister concerned about? Because I was thinking, aren't there other candidates on that list that also worked for the SABC?
There are, and I think the point that she was raising, she highlighted, King, was that Ms. Mogopeni left. I think that she was insinuating that she left as a result of a disciplinary process. But from memory, it ended with them leaving the matter being settled. So it wasn't as a result of a disciplinary process. We all know that there was a lot of issues around that particular process, but certainly not something where she left in circumstances that would say she's definitely not someone who you'd want back at the SABC. And again, had the minister, and I'm sure that issue was raised with Ms. Mogopeni when she was doing her parliamentary interview. And had she not raised it then, the minister, through her ANC connections, could have easily have said to some of her colleagues in Parliament, please ask this question and find out how Ms. Mogopeni would respond to it, because it is fundamentally and principally outrageous that she would then, months after the names had been sent forward and agreed, send forward an attempt to suggest that she shouldn't, in fact, be on the list. Yeah. After Parliament has sat, you're the minister, and this is your department. To think that this is a rational thing to do, to put it down in writing, shows the crassness of the level of interference. It's just quite incredible.
Yeah. I would imagine, William, that the committee would have considered the possible areas of conflict when they interviewed these various candidates.
So, the general interview process is fairly rigorous. The CVs are made public so that people can ask, and the political parties, depending on who the candidate is often ask very difficult and challenging questions. So again, it's designed to be open and transparent, and that people can ask difficult questions. And there were various difficulties with a number of the candidates that were put forward, for example, and those were aired in Parliament, and the portfolio committee heard all of the issues, and they've made the decision. Whether we agree with that is almost immaterial, to the extent that Parliament has agreed with it. If we feel now, once the board has been appointed, for example, that some of the people should not be there, anyone can then go and take that appointment on review. You know, you can then go and challenge that in court as anyone can. So in this instance, for the minister to kind of go through the back door, if you like, after the process has been done, and try and raise that in relation to one of the members and not in relation seemingly to the others, it's just quite extraordinary.
Yeah. So how should the president handle this matter? He has now sent the names back to Parliament for consideration. I'm not sure if we know what exactly he is concerned about, but my understanding is the president appoints the board at the recommendation of Parliament. I think we had that High Court ruling that previously described this as just a purely formal exercise.
It is indeed, in our view. So the reason we've taken the president to the Constitutional Court is because we're saying, Mr. President, you need to appoint the board. You don't have the luxury of saying, well, I'll deliberate on these things and consider them. His role in this instance is that it says the president must, on the advice of the National Assembly. There's no leeway there. He must, on the advice of the National Assembly, appoint the board. So whether he agrees with those positions, whether he likes some of them or doesn't like them or whatever, is immaterial. He has a job to do and he must do it.
Yeah.
The president's current reasoning behind the delay is that Parliament has messed up by sending through 15 names and not 12. And he is arguing, in our view, not very convincingly, that that's an illegal act for Parliament, and because of that, he's not able to make the appointment. Now, we disagree with that, which is why this matter is, we're busy working on our replying papers, which will be going to the Constitutional Court this week.
Yeah. What are the implications on the public broadcaster of these delays in appointing the board?
So on Wednesday, the 15th of March, it'll be 5 months since the SABC has had a board. What the government, Parliament has done is engineered a crisis for the SABC. Already, the SABC was struggling with a whole range of issues, thanks to a lack of policy shift from previous ministers, for example, but at least they had a functioning board.
Okay.
Parliament knew the term was coming to the end. They did nothing. They waited, they delayed, they dilly-dallied.
Okay.
And so you've now got consequence on consequence. So it means, for example, we saw the GCO in Parliament, I think it was last week, saying that it means they can't take on new contracts. One of those, for example, speaks to the license fees. And if they can't do that, they can't collect money.
Yeah. William?
It's got very dire consequences.
Yeah, William Bird, who's with Media Monitoring Africa, thank you so much for making time for us.